Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Rosie here, and I play Dead by Daylight, so you don't have to. Feels good, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting week for old Rosie. We sit here for the first time ever, recording a video in my new car. Lovely, ladies and gentlemen, just lovely. 2016 Ford Fusion. Not too bad. It's got my nice little backup camera. It's got my nice little phone connectivity. I can listen to all my shit. Decent little car. The market's fucking awful right now. I don't know if anyone's trying to get cars right now, but the market is just absolutely fucking awful. Not a lot to pick from. So I think with what I had to work with, I think I made the best possible decision. Now I had to sign all them papers, sign my life away, dude. We're here and now it's official, bruh. I got bills. Well, wow, sucks. But anyway, enough about me. Let's get back to what you all want to hear about, which is the dev Q&A that happened earlier this week. Can we just talk about the Q&As from like last year around this time? Like, you want to sit here and say this was bad? I mean, yeah, it was bad. Of course it was bad. It's the Dead by Daylight fucking developers. They suck. But last year we had I remember we had a Q&A one year with Not Queen, Almo, and Peanitis. And if you want to sit here and fucking tell me that any of these three are worse than Almo, Not Queen, and Peanitis, I confer you to go rewatch that to figure out how bad that those were. These guys are fucking way better. Significantly better. Justin's a little bit bland. He didn't do much for me. I like Patrick. Fuck you guys. I know we've seen Patrick twice. I like Patrick. I'm sure, I don't know what bad decisions he's responsible for making, but Patrick seems like a chill guy. Like, I could go out, probably not, because he's probably 30 years older than me, but if I was in my 50s, I would go out and have a drink with Patrick, bro. Patrick seems like an okay guy. And Death by Giggles is significantly better than Not Queen. Significantly better. Her jokes are bad, but Not Queen's jokes were worse. So I think she did a much better job than Not Queen ever did running this fucking crap. So very good by these three. Okay, I think this is a nice team moving forward. I think we should keep doing these three. Justin didn't do much for me, but that's just because he was kind of bland, but that was about it. I think we should leave him. He certainly didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth. Don't get it twisted, Justin. Not doing anything for me is one of the best ratings you can get from me, because Peanitis and Almo do something for me. Dave Richards does something for me. Cotier does something for me. It's just not something that's good. So, not doing anything for me, it means you can come back and have another chance. Because Patrick didn't do anything for me last time. I like Patrick. Can confirm I like Patrick. He's an okay dude. Death by Giggles, strong debut. Keep it up, lady. Keep it up. You're doing good. Keep it up. Okay. In this Q&A, what did Scott Junn say? In his clickbaity title? Anybody that watched that video wasted their time. Devs admitted that the MMR system was not accurate. What was his title? Dead by Daylight admit that the devs admit that the MMR system is flawed, not accurate, something like that. But he had a very, very bad title, a very clickbaity title that it's already feeding you a narrative, ladies and gentlemen. And you will come to see that in this video, Patrick does nothing like that. So let's proceed. Let's see what these guys have to say. We'll just go through, and once again, I'll reiterate this and begin this the same way I begin with all of these. I cut out all the bullshit. Every question here is about the meta, perks, important stuff, grind reduction, etc. None of that bullshit. What inspires you to keep going and keep developing? Is the Black story complete, or is there more to tell? Fuck you. Cut all that garbage out. It's not there. This is the only video on the Q&A that you need to be seeing.
A lot of players have been asking, hey, why choose to move away from ranks?
Yeah.
Why ditch ranks, guys? Why should we ditch ranks? What about what okay. There are way too many issues with the ranking system that are worth going over at this point, because the system is dead and it's never coming back. Patrick says ranks are dead in this video. The system is never coming back. So reflecting on it really briefly, the problem with the ranking system is that it was not accurate. This is something that everybody said. LOL, rank doesn't matter. LOL. Yeah, everybody knew that. Everyone knew it. It mattered to a degree, but then there was a certain point where it stopped mattering, aka red ranks. That's about where it stopped mattering. Once, like, you could still be trash in that red. It was like you were super trash if you weren't red, and you just be trash when you're red. That's pretty much what it was. In game, the system also had problems. Like, it wasn't even just the fact that that was the problem. You could win and lose, and you could win the match as the killer and the survivor and still D rank. Like, that's fucking unacceptable. DCs from the survivor's end would hurt you as the killer and affect your chances of ranking up. Like, there were so many issues with the ranking system, both in the game and outside the game. The system had to fucking go. There was no other way to amend it. You just want to amend the ranking system and make it just a little better. No, the whole thing needed to fucking go. And I don't know, probably Patrick, but Patrick or McLean, McLean was there at this time, right? I don't know who said MMR is needed. Patrick's the one working on it. I'm assuming it's Patrick. Sorry, guys, I'm giving the nod to Patrick. I know McLean still got his fans. Patrick's the one working on this fucking shit. I think he was the one that said, yo, this fucking shit's gotta go. I think that was him. I can't confirm that, and you can just feel free to say, oh, Rosie's to put a tinfoil hat on again. But I think that was him. And why I think that's important is that shows you the competency of this man right away. That he knows that this is what we have to do. We have to trudge on through every Scott Jun video that he puts out 4 a day. Scott Jun's videos on MMR. Ooh, MMR sucks, bro. You got people, MMR's not going to do anything. Well, thank God that they're just ignoring that. Thank God we're ignoring that fucking shit, dude. Just great. Keep bitching, guys. Keep bitching. We're laughing at you as we keep going forward with this. And thank you. So why ditch ranks? Let's hear what they have to say.
So, hey, I'm also the guy who's been working on skill-based matchmaking in MMR for a very long time. So I'm the guy who has the best answers. So yeah, moving away from ranks, the ranks aren't very good at making matches. The number one thing that ranks were great at tracking was playtime.
Yes.
You know, they just tracked how much you played the game. So you could have 2 people who are rank 1 or 2 people who are rank 20 who actually had vastly different amounts of actual play skill at the game.
Correct. That was another thing. When I like, if you were to play on a different system, okay? Here, when you play on a different system, like I would play, I had to rank up on the Xbox one time, okay? When I went to rank up on the Xbox, the games, like, there was a rank 17 player that I will never forget because he was one of the best players I've ever played against in my life. I was like, oh, we already have fucking red rank. We're at rank 18. There's a red rank in our game already. No, that guy was rank 17. And there's no fucking way he was actually rank 17. He just took a break from the game and came back. He is still brimming with competency, too much competency. Or he was like me, because again, I'm sitting there at rank 18 when I'm in fucking rank 1 too. But like, so it's not, system ain't accurate is the point. You can take a break and leave. Like, so many fucking problems with the ranking system. But yeah, everything he just said was right.
Game, and so the system just sort of regularly made matches that were unfairly balanced.
Correct.
Right from the get-go.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for
And
the
I think
answer.
there's another implication you can get from that. The implication there is that even at red ranks, even in a match with all 4 red ranks in it, the balance of the match was still never going to be okay. Because, number 1, general game problems. That's the first thing. Number 2, people at red rank were trash. Like, There's no better take right now in Dead by Daylight than the former red ranks that are going, MMR sucks! I'm at low MMR, and I was a red rank previously! Yeah, but you fucking sucked. That's what MMR's telling you, that you fucking sucked the whole time. You are not entitled to being at high rank, you motherfuckers. You have to get to high rank by earning it. You have to earn it. And I think that's something that you have to do now in MMR. Granted, like, the earning process can take some time. I, as someone who is now working a job, is finding the process just a tad slow, but that's because I don't play enough. And the matches get harder progressively every time I play. That's because the system is good. It's feeding the time that I'm putting in, the wins I'm getting in, and the matches are getting consistently harder. Good! It means it's working! It's working, bruh.
And a lot of players have also been kind of debating this and trying to figure out exactly what constitutes a win. This is a very controversial question.
Very controversial question, bro. Uh-huh.
I'm going to float it your way.
All right. Is everybody ready? Because we're going to answer. I'm going to be straight with you.
I guess, actually, we should probably cover what a matchmaking... well, I guess, Patrick, I'll let you cover this first before we dive into what a win is. That's right.
Yeah. To understand how we rate a win, it's kind of helpful to understand how skill-based matchmaking, that is a mouthful, works. Internally, we typically call this system MMR, which is short for matchmaking rating. So matchmaking rating, how does it work? It's basically... It's a number that it's a math formula that generates a number for you, and the way it works is when you win games, that number goes up, and when you lose games, that number goes down. There's a whole bunch of nuance to how much it goes up and how it goes down, but that's the general thing. If you're curious, you can look this stuff up for, like, they've been using it on chess tournaments and every other competitive video game.
Let's pause it right there, ladies and gentlemen. What the fuck did he just say? Oh, Dead by Daylight's not competitive, Rosie! This is not a competitive game! This game is competitive in nature. That's the thing about it. There's no competitive scene that is real for Dead by Daylight right now. That is a fact. Okay? There is no real competitive scene. There's a bunch of mouth bleers, basement scenes, and dick blowers that think the scene is real right now. Okay, you got those guys in one group. Okay, then you have they're the hard right, and then you got the hard left going, Dead by Daylight's not a competitive game, bro. Both sides are wrong. Okay, what is the truth? The truth is that this is a competitive game that is incapable of having a real competitive scene because the devs just won't fucking do it. The devs won't fucking balance the game correctly so the competitive scene can form. Okay? That's the real problem. Okay? So, the left is not right when they say that the game isn't competitive, and then saying that the scene exists is also false. There is potential for a very popular and good competitive scene in Dead by Daylight that gets more than 6,000 views. Sorry. That's just facts. These VODs could hit Noob 3, Ots Darva levels of viewing if you just let them do it. However, because of the lack of the things that make a competitive scene real, they're not there yet. However, the game itself is a competitive game in its nature. The nature of Dead by Daylight is competitive with competition inherently. It is a competitively minded game. So, and Patrick knows that. Every other competitive game, he is admitting that the game is competitive. So that's the only thing the devs admitted in this video. Scott, you fucking clown. The game is competitive.
Long time, you can look at all the kind of cool math that they do, but I think you would all be bored if I went into the math here. So that's...
I can speak to that as having listened to Patrick discuss it for many hours.
Poor Justin has to listen to me talk about this all the time.
Yeah, so I guess with that, we can probably finally get into, what is a win? What is something that constitutes a win in our skill-based matchmaking?
Yeah, exactly. Most matchmaking systems, or most MMR systems, are based around a 1 versus 1 game. DBD, obviously not a 1 versus 1 game.
So that means you have to retool and repackage what MMR is, okay? So here is where the juicy part of it, and where I think Scott Jund is getting his bullshit from, okay? Like, the devs admit MMR isn't an accurate system, it's flawed. MMR not accurate, bro. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to say this again. If there is a fully accurate MMR system in Dead by Daylight, Killer is dead. You cannot do that to the role. They tested it. We tested it. I was there. Every game was Swift after Swift after Swift after Swift. The game was unplayable. You can't do a fully accurate MMR system without first nerfing the game. Nerf the core, nerf Survivor, buff the killers. You have to do it. If you don't do it, you cannot have a fully accurate system, okay? But the devs wanted to skip Killer Apocalypse, okay? That whole situation, Killer Apocalypse. How are we skipping it? I've said this before MMR came out. They're putting a bad MMR system in the game. The system is designed to be bad. The only thing they had to do, they had one goal, ladies and gentlemen. They had one goal. The one goal wasn't to be perfect. The one goal was we have a shit ranking system. I'm going to explain this very, very slowly so you all can understand. We have a shit ranking system. Let's make it less shit. Let's make it more consistent. Let's make it playable. Let's not make every game a sweat fest, because Killer dies if you do that. If you make every game sweaty, Killer dies, because survivors win every time. Because the game is unbalanced as fuck. So they put a system in that is less consistent to not ruin the Killer experience. Okay? That is what they did. So, I don't know why I'm getting comments on my videos going, wow, Rosie, did you see how bad MMR is? Yes, I told you it was going to be the bad system. Hearing the specifics on why the system is flawed doesn't mean anything to me, because I know it's flawed and I know why it's flawed. I know the intention behind it being flawed design. Because Killer Apocalypse cannot happen or Dead by Daylight dies. The killer dies. The role is dead. And with no killers, there's no survivors. So you cannot do it until the game is balanced. This system, to me, is a placeholder system until the game is balanced. Once the game is balanced, then we can tweak it. But for right now, the system that's in the game is perfect. Okay? So let's let Patrick explain what a win is, and you're going to start seeing that this system is actually objectively shit. And we will talk about ways to improve it. But the concept is great, and it's working. Fuckers.
I presume you've all figured that out by now. But so in DVD, one of the modifications we've made, and there's a lot, and hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about some of them today. But what constitutes a win is really, really straightforward. If a survivor escapes alive, that's a win for the survivor. If the killer kills a survivor, that's a win for the killer. The survivors, in terms of MMR, are playing one game at a time. It's them versus the killer, and that's how we look at it. We ignore the other survivors in the match for that one survivors matchup. And the killer is playing 4 games at once, one against each of the survivors. So at the end of the match, it looks at their various MMRs, and it goes, all right, killer killed this many survivors escaped, and then it does its fancy math and adjusts the numbers all up and down based off of that. That's the really simple thing, except there is one exception that we need to touch on.
Okay, so the most obvious flaw of that is that this is a 1 versus 4 game, and it's being conducted as 4 separate 1v1s at once. That is how the MMR system is working, okay? For Killer, this doesn't seem that bad, okay? I don't I still think Identity 5's MMR system is the best way to do it. And I think NetEase being involved with behavior, I think NetEase should lend a hand to helping them improve their system. Okay, I like NetEase's way of if the killer's killing 2 or more, that's a win for the killer, and if the killer's killing 3 or more, that's a win for the killer, and if 3 or more survivors are escaping, that's a win for the survivors, and then if on a tie, it's considered a tie, and everyone's MMR goes up a little bit. Okay, that is what I think the ultimate end game should still be. Okay, that's still the perfect way to do it, but the way that's in right now is obviously not that, and then it has the added problem of punishing the sacrifice. The biggest way for a survivor to secure wins and stop the killer's late game snowball when they're no doubt face camping is to escape, and everybody gets out and leaves the one guy to die. This is called being the sacrifice. The D-Pip squad used this technique all the fucking time. At Identity 5, this technique is named being the sacrifice. It is a commonly used technique at their competitive tournaments. Okay? The sacrifice should be getting the most MMR, in my opinion, because that should be the role that is encouraged. It should be encouraged in-game for a sacrifice to happen. However, the system that's in the game right now is punishing the sacrifice player by saying he's losing the game, so his MMR is going down. That is bad. And yes, the survivor MMR experience does need to be improved based off that one fact alone. Because if you're dying and then your 3 teammates are getting out, your MMR should go up. I believe that. That is a flaw with the system. Okay? The survivor MMR experience does need some tuning, does need some adjustments. However, this is still a decent start. Okay? So, the devs, of course, the question of what is a win is now tainted because they're explaining how the system works, and it's odd. It's an odd way of doing it. But let's keep going.
Which is, well,
I think there's a little PSA we want to mention here first,
that's right? Yeah. I'm getting my slides out of order here, guys. I do, in fact, take notes so I know what I'm going to say when I'm talking about matchmaking for once in my life. But yes, we do have a PSA, actually, that we got to cover here. Just FYI, to make me feel better, ranks are dead. There are no ranks in this game anymore.
Thank
Please
God.
Stop telling me the ranks are broken.
Oh, and by the way, DCs don't impact my MMR anymore. If the survivor DCs, guess what happens? I'm assuming that's being counted as a kill. And then my MMR is going up. Thank God.
Bad. Ranks are dead. Grades are the new hotness. That's what we use instead, and they are not used for matchmaking. So when you see at the end of the match, you see, oh, there's some iridescent 2s, oh, there's I'm Ash 3, all that stuff. That's fine. We don't use it for matchmaking. Please stop sending me screenshots complaining.
There's all them fucking survivor players going
Look, it's not, okay? So,
Patrick! I was a red rank! How could you do this to me, Patrick? That poor fuck. Having to sit there and deal with all that fucking nonsense from those Scott Jun fanboys. That's definitely what he was dealing with, ladies and gentlemen.
So it's confusing. I mean, when you've been playing for 5 years, we're sitting here, we're like, oh, we still try and we accidentally call it ranks as well, but they're grades, and they're more of like a monthly progression system than anything else.
Exactly. Yeah. Every 13th, it's coming in a few days. It's not that far. Every 13th, your grades are all going to go back down to Ash 4. Everyone. I don't care if you're a streamer who plays 1,000 hours a week, or if you've logged in once in the past month, everyone's getting busted down to the bottom. So that's
good.
That's where that's at. I just need to be clear.
Yeah. One thing I did want to kind of bring up is, why did we decide that this is what constitutes a win? I think there are a couple exceptions that we wanted to go in, so we'll go into that as well. Yeah. But
let's talk about Death by Giggles for a second. Look at her asking the follow-up question that wasn't even there. She asked a relevant follow-up question. Not Queen would be not caught dead doing that. Significant improvement they had here. She's moving the conversation forward in a manner that is organic and natural and professional. Death by Giggles is great. Patrick is great. Justin can stay. These three, this is the trio. And if I see Not Queen ever again, I will want to die. This chick is perfect. Leave her there, please.
To discuss as well, why is it that this is what was decided to constitute a win, and kind of talking about that idea of, winning so many matches or losing so many.
Yeah, like there's sort of a question I get asked a lot. I see from the community. I've had even people on the team talk to me about. They talk about the survivor perspective of, hey, I was playing.
What does that tell you? They have to bring up the survivor perspective. What does that tell you? That people are going to him and making the survivor problems apparent. Because the system does have survivor favorite problems. The system needs some improvement on the survivor side. But what does it tell you that they're going to Patrick consistently and telling him about that? The system's not for survivor. The system is for killers. The MMR system is there for the killers. That's what it's there for. It's there for the killers. So we can get some fucking stats that mean something. That's what the damn thing is there for. It was a killer decision to do MMR. That's what that really was. That's
Game of Survivor, and I looped the killer for 7 consecutive hours, and I unhooked 18 other survivors, and I healed for 93 health states. I fixed 10 generators. It was such an amazing game. I truly am a god amongst mankind when I play Dead by Daylight. But then, right at the end, I got thrown on a hook and I died, and I don't like that counts as a loss. And the idea here is, wouldn't it be nice if you could do all of that and sometimes you'd get out alive? Right? Like, wouldn't that be nice? That's the idea. That's all MMR is trying to do, is it goes, I know that you died. It's ignoring how you got there because there's too much nuance to be able to make a real effective system. So we just ignore that. And we go, cool, you play the way that you want to play. You play the best that you can, or you can screw around. Do your thing. I know DVD players love to screw around. I like screwing around. You can screw around all you want. But at the end of the day, it's going to try to find a spot where, as a survivor, you're going to escape from about half the games that you play alive, however you got there. And as killers, it gets a little more complicated. I don't like saying you're going to kill about half the people in the match.
Okay, so for the survivor, this leads to the obvious problem that the asshole who did nothing can leave and get MMR improvements, while the person that put in all the work and did everything, his MMR can go down. Okay? This is where I want to get into the idea of the system. These devs, first of all, an Identity 5 system, if 3 people get out and everyone's MMR goes up, because it's counted as a win. The fact that we're not looking at the, in terms of how killers are designed as a win, what Dave Richards said, we look for the 2 and for the efficiency and power. The 2 plus the 2 kills is the efficiency, and that's like we're making sure killers can do that in the match. The fact that the 1v1 is in place is where the problem's coming. Okay, if we just did a flat Identity 5 system with the kills and the escapes, that wouldn't be a problem. Do you see why, like, kills and escapes being horrible is something I doubt still? Like, when they said kills and escapes was horrible, it was just awful, guys. That didn't even ship out live. Source, trust me, bro. Trust me, Rosie. Kills and escapes was shit. You never wanted it. I don't believe you. And I don't believe you because a kill and escape system would fix that. It would fix that problem. Where if the guy who did everything is dead, and then 3 people get out, everyone's MMR goes up, whereas 2 people escape, it's considered a tie, and everyone gets raised up anyway. And then there's the whole concept of defeat protection, which is something that I haven't gotten into, and I kind of can't decide if it's relevant, but like basically defeat protection is your MMR would take less of a hit if you lost. Like if you're sitting there carrying the fucking team to a barely lose situation, where like you carry the team to where all the gens get done and you did so well in the fucking match, your MMR would go down a little bit less. Defeat protection. I think that's a system they could kind of work with as well. Again, ask your buddies at NetEase to help do it for you. NetEase should get more involved with Dead by Daylight. If NetEase was in charge of Dead by Daylight, things would improve immediately. I 100% believe that as well. So yes, that is kind of a problem that would be fixed by a flat kill and escape rate MMR system. I'm still campaigning that should be the final version of the MMR system when the core is fixed. The core still needs fixed. That's why we're doing this. Let's not forget that.
That's not actually how the math works. Killer math gets a lot more complicated. Again, I promised I wouldn't talk too much about math. So yeah, that's the intention there, is that survivors should each escape about half the games that they play. Killers average to killing about 2 survivors a match, but that's not really how it works. I probably have some notes in here that I'll talk about later on that topic. But yeah, but we were talking about exceptions, weren't we?
Yes,
we had
exactly.
Man, this is the long road to exception. So survivors, if they escape a match alive, that is a win for the survivor. The one exception to that is escaping through the hatch.
Good.
We've done a lot of analysis of stats, looking at math, all kinds of things, and there's just no statistical correlation.
Good.
Of skill of players and whether a survivor escapes through a hatch. So what we have done with the hatches is they return a null. They return a no answer. The system just kind of looks at a hatch escape and it shrugs and it moves on with
very good.
So
I like that. That's very good. That the hatch is not considered an escape. That's very good. That's very good. Survivor that gets to the hatch is no longer rewarded, and the killer is no longer punished. So we could potentially be looking at like 2 kills, 1 hatch escape is considered a null, and then the 1 guy gets out. So that's an interesting. I'd like to know more about how killer math is done. I would like them to release a blog post on killer math so I can read it. I would like that very much if they did that. But the concept of a null makes me worried that that's how they factor DCs as well. I want somebody to ask that question. If DCs are considered null, that's a problem. If somebody's DCing, their MMR should go down. 100% their MMR should go down. But the more I think about it, another problem with the ranking system was that you could DC, back when DCs weren't punished, you could DC to D rank. So I don't know, maybe they do want to leave it a null. That way, the guy can't DC to get back to low MMR. Interesting. That's one I'll have to reflect on more about. But the point is, DCs don't affect me anymore. I can now just laugh at them no matter what.
In practice, just to give you guys some clarity on this, is if you're the last survivor alive in a match, if you die, that still counts as a loss. So you're going to lose MMR score from that. If you jump out through the hatch, the game goes, hey, you didn't win, you didn't lose, so it just doesn't adjust your score at all. So it's actually a net gain for you as the survivor. And the inverse is also true for the killer. If the killer kills you, he gets the win, and if you escape through the hatch, he gets nothing out of it. But we found this was the best compromise to make for a system like hatches, because there's no way to predict what's going to happen once the hatch opens. It really is kind of a coin toss.
Now that the hatch escape, what that means is that hatch escapes are no longer used for matchmaking purposes. Thank God. Thank God. Something like that cannot affect your score and affect your rank. Good. Very, very good.
Statistically speaking, so we don't want that sort of coin toss influencing the basis of matchmaking, because it will stop it from making fair matches.
Very good.
Right. And I think so.
Very good. Do you see why even a half-assed MMR system is better than what we had previously? There's more reasons. We could keep going. There's definitely more reasons, bruh.
Something really important to note here as well is that, while the hidden rating, in some capacity does determine how skilled you are, but at the end of the day, it's more so about, those losses or like having you win half those matches and kind of like the fun of the game in some capacity, right? Or I guess correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but
it's like matchmaking is hard, and trying to decide what makes a game balanced and fair is really difficult. The assumption, and something that I truly believe, is that if you can make a balanced match where everyone is about the same level of skill, that's how you make the most fun, right? It's not fun stomping your opponents all day, every day.
That gets
boring. As much fun as it is to have the occasional stomp. If you were a killer and you were 4K'ing literally every game you played, it would get dull.
Yes,
There's no excitement.
I was 4K'ing every game. Can confirm.
There's no risk. And likewise, as on the other side of it, if you're a survivor who dies every single game they play, that's gonna get old, right? So the intention here is to make something where you're escaping sometimes, but other times you're not. You can't win them all, right? So, and that's that.
Remember, that's their intention, ladies and gentlemen. Their intention is not to be fully accurate, because if they're fully accurate, the inverse is true for the killer. If they're fully accurate, the survivors will stomp the killer every single time. So their intention is to make sure that you're winning and losing, that you're losing more consistently. That's their intention. This system is fucking perfect. Shut the fuck up.
It's kind of where the fun factor comes in. That's where that anticipation of what's this game going to be like? Am I going to be able to pull off a stomp? Am I going to get stomped? Is it going to be close? All that kind of stuff.
And I mean, yeah, I think there was one more exception that we did want to get into in terms of what it constitutes a win, right, Patrick?
Yeah. There's that. This is where the fancy math comes in. So I'm gonna try. I tried really hard not to bring out any specific numbers about this. So the other exception other thing about how wins and losses works is, and this has to do with how. Oh God, there's
also what a buff to camping. Am I right? Camping got a significant buff by this.
Many maths that are running through my head, and I'm trying not to talk about them all. This has to do with the likelihood of people escaping matches in certain scenarios. So here's the thing. This is why I was talking about killer math gets weird, is once the first survivor in a match dies, the odds of any of other survivors escaping alive goes down. It makes sense, right? You've played this game before, you know. As soon as that first survivor is done, you're like, oh man, fewer people to fix gens, fewer people to distract the killer, it goes down. So, and this continues. Once the second survivor is dead, those last two, woof, not looking too good for them. And when the third goes down, then you've got the hatch escape scenario, which we already kind of covered and talked about. So what we've done as another adjustment to the DBD system of MMR is we weight or scale how much of that score adjustment happens at the end of a match based off of the order that survivors die. Okay. So the first
there are some strengths and weaknesses to that. There are some strengths and weaknesses to that. Okay? On the one hand, the person that's trash is likely going to die first consistently. The weak links in the trial are likely going to die first. That is true. Because if somebody's good, the killer's not going to fucking chase them. They're going to hone in on those weak links. So, because that's how you fucking play killer. Okay? So, that's actually not too bad in that department. Okay? On the other hand, if the guy's playing Bubba or something, and then, like, the experienced guy comes in and gets the guy off the hook because he knows what he's doing, but then takes it down, and then the intention is hook trading, but lol, the other three are a swift and they leave you now. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, so that's obviously not a good thing. However, again, the intention is not to be fully accurate. Because they're not intending fully accurate systems, they can feel free to ignore stuff like that. What is the thing that's going to make a system better than the ranking system? This. There is with how the 2-2 MMR is designed and how it works, ladies and gentlemen, is that two people in your matches are weak links for a very like significant portion of your MMR. That you're getting the weak links. Those weak links are going to die first, okay? And then those weak links MMR is going to go down. Okay? The killer is provided a better match because they got a break from all the sweats and they got to kill somebody. And the survivors that are dying last, the good players aren't, and maybe one guy gets hatch, and then he doesn't take a dip in MMR at all. So by the nature of 2-2 MMR, this kind of works for that. However, in a fully accurate system, where it'd be swift after swift after swift, it wouldn't be the most accurate. And with the sacrifices and all that stuff, however, this is a starting point. Nothing like this was ever done with the ranking system, making this better than the ranking system. Because somebody that loses doesn't deserve to rank up. I don't care what the fuck they did in the game. They don't deserve to rank up. The best they should get is a flat 0. Which is what defeat protection could offer. A flat 0 if you're losing. So good. This is okay. I don't have much of a problem with this. If I was intending for a fully accurate balls to the wall system, yeah, there's some problems with this. But the problems are ignorable because they've made an improvement on what was there before. So good. I don't really care.
Gets the full adjustment that the algorithm says they should get, blah, 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 fancy maths. The second survivor who dies doesn't get the full adjustment, gets it slightly smaller, and it's actually proportional.
So that's where the whole time of the match thing came in. If you're a killer, the time of the match doesn't matter. The time of the match doesn't matter at all. That's not a relevant factor. It's how long you stay alive. That's the relevant factor, okay? That's not nearly as bad as the community was making it out to be. The community made that out to be horrible, but it actually is not too bad. There's actually some significantly positive things about it based on how the system inherently works with the 2-2 bullshit.
Much the odds are impacted of them escaping the game alive. Again, lots of fun math that we've done. Same thing for the third, and even same thing for the fourth. And we
what do you guys want me to say? You want me to come on and shit on that? I think anybody with a brain can tell you what's bad about that. Yeah, that's bad. But is it the ranking system? No. The ranking system was the worst pile of vomit I've ever seen in a video game. The ranking system was by far the worst matchmaking system I have ever experienced in my entire life. That had to fucking go. This is a great first step to having something way better. And it's already way better.
That, like, while this sounds unfair on a case-by-case basis, you have to remember, I'm not thinking about just one game, right? We're thinking about every game that you play. We're thinking about your entire history of DBD matches, and these things balance out to have the best approximation of your skill possible before getting you back into the next match.
Right. All right, so we do have 2 more questions on the topic of skill-based matchmaking, and there have been some rumors asking about
29%. We're doing it.
Whether or not it is true that ratings are capped. Can you speak to that, Patrick?
Yeah, this
one's kind of ignorable.
The ratings are not capped. We let your number go as high or as low as you want, just to give, like, one of the few times they'll give numbers. Typically, MMR systems and in DBD, the numbers tend to range between like an MMR score of 500 up to, I think we've got a few people who are pushing into the 3000s area, so it's nice.
So the true talents of the
world, like gradient of player skill there. But no, we don't cap. The number can go as high as you want. The exception to that rule, I'm going to make a liar out of myself immediately, is that we, in terms of how the game matchmaking service finds you a match, there are some soft caps on that.
Okay.
During
here's the 1900 that from the leak
MMR test that we did on live, right? You guys remember we did a few of those over the last year. In one of those, we found a couple cases of a few players whose MMRs were so insanely high.
The Dowsy right there. This is the Dowsy with twins.
For them to play. We matchmake within a range. We don't let people too high or too low below your MMR match with you in order to prevent absolute stomps that we know are going to be unfair. But what this meant was these players, their MMR was just so high that the system said, there's nobody else in your league. And so they were waiting for literal hours.
So that's Dowsy with twins,
never
right
finding
there.
Games. Yeah, big sad face right there.
Big sad.
Yeah, not what I want. So what we do is we take that number that's too high or too low. It actually also happens at the low end. We do this, and we, for the purposes of finding a match, we round it down. So while your MMR may still be 3,000, we round it down to the cap. Which, don't quote me on this. I think it's the high end cap is like 1,900 or 2,000 or something in that realm. So we round you down to that, and then we find you matches based off of that. Just in case.
That is temporary. Okay, he's about to explain that. That is temporary. As more players get higher and higher, and the separation between the community gets bigger and bigger, they are capable of moving that cap. Okay? That's so like when so right now, because everybody is closer together, the cap is starting at 1,900. Okay, we got a few people pushing 3,000 right now. As they continue to play, since it's not capped, Dowsy's MMR will continue to go up. It will continue to be pushed into the 4,000s and to the 5,000s as we all play. Okay? And so then, once Dowsy is at 5,000, we can move the cap to about 3,000 and about 3,500. We can keep adjusting that cap so everybody that sucks is getting left further and further behind. This is a good thing.
is panicking about this. This is actually a dynamic number that we adjust on a fairly regular basis.
That's
We've
why.
already adjusted them a couple times, and we can continue to adjust them based off of what the population looks like, how players are performing, where they are, blah, 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 blah. So that's really just a fallback.
Yes, that is absolutely fine. There is a reason that they're doing that, and that number is going to keep getting adjusted up. Because that's what they're going to do. That's what makes sense. As more new players come into the game, the bottom is being filled with new players and new players. It's going to keep pushing. The players that are in the community are going to get more experience. They're going to go up. Everyone's playing. If you continue to play the game, your skill will gradually continue to go up. That's why the skill cap and the cap on the MMR can continue to be adjusted and keep going up. This is intelligent. This is not stupid. This is intelligent. This is very, very smart. So it's capped for time. If time wasn't a problem, we wouldn't have to cap it. But people want to get in matches in 5 minutes because they're fucking stupid. Okay? Not that 2 hours is acceptable. I think the cap should be about 10 minutes. That's when the cap should go into effect. IMO. I think there's potential adjustments that they could do to make the system even more accurate. But the problem is if you do that, say it with me now, what happens if you make the system too accurate? Killer dies. So that's not an option. They want to dodge killer apocalypse. That's what everything is about, ladies and gentlemen.
People who are really highly ranked and people who are really low ranked can still find games instead of getting stuck in limbo.
Exactly. All right, and as a too long didn't read, because of course we still have, I'm not kidding you guys, 18 pages of questions.
We're going to speed up once we get, MMR is just such an important topic.
In a too long didn't read fashion on skill-based matchmaking as a whole.
Yes, it is statistically making better matches than ranks ever did. We're seeing much more balance in the game, and the amount of granularity and information that we can get out of this is really powerful and is opening up a whole new realm of balancing and tuning and data analysis for this game. There's a lot of stuff that's already in the pipe that's going to be based off of MMR in terms of the design process.
And those add-ons already are. Those new add-ons, that fucking new vanity mirror already is. Those new add-ons already are. Let me tell you something, Scott. I want you to look at that and tell me what was them admitting. Was that them admitting that MMR is flawed? Was that them admitting that it's not accurate? Was that them admitting that it's a failure? No! The devs are sticking to their ground because they know you're wrong. I know you're wrong. Everyone that has a brain knows you're wrong, Scott. Your video title was pathetic. And you should be ashamed of yourself for doing this. And this narrative that you have fed this community was a fucking lie. And it was a failure. And you have set the game back over a year with your bullshit. Hopefully, we can get some real work done now. And we can fix this fucking shit. It's making matches better than ranks ever did. That's all it needed to do. We can make it better later. Right now, let's fix the fucking game! For fuck's sake, the game is a joke. The game is a disaster. The game sucks. Okay? We need to fix the game first. We can fix the MMR system later. It's better than the ranks ever were. Take that to the fucking bank. It's more accurate. I can feel it in the 5 times I've been on for multiple hours. If you played the game at all, you can tell it's more accurate. It's a significant improvement. And anyone that is continuing to stifle its progress should put their head in between their legs and kiss their ass goodbye from this community. Get the fuck out! You don't like it, get the fuck out! We don't need you. We don't want you. Go play something else. Go play fucking Mario Party, you fucking casual. Get out of here. And Mario Party would benefit from an MMR system, fuckers. Isn't a game that wouldn't? God damn.
Help us find the right things to buff and the right things to nerf.
Correct.
Because of how the system and the maths work under the hood.
Exactly. Well, there you go. If you guys, I see you guys still have plenty of questions in the chat, but feel free to keep them going. And
very solid.
We'll likely do another Q&A in the near future, where maybe we can answer a few more of those questions.
Patrick is the fucking man. Is he the head of the balance team yet, too? I think this man knows what the fuck he's talking about. Somebody give him a promotion. He's the fucking best guy they have! By far!
We'll have another Path to MMR TED Talk.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you for coming to the TED Talk. Yeah, so we're going to move into some PTB changes from the PTB to the live
but
release.
This is going to start going a lot faster.
Soon, TM. No, I think the date has been announced, but I'm not going to say it just in case it wasn't. But in any case, there may be a couple more outside of this, but overall, these are the main ones that are going in, and the rest still need to be validated. So please stay tuned to the patch notes for the full list.
So let's read this real fast. These are the little changes to the boon totems. Boon totems no longer stack, thank fucking God. Blessing a Hex now takes 24 seconds as opposed to, 16? Boon totems radius reduced to 24 meters, down from 28. Blood Favor now activates on damage states. Trickster was abusing the perk. They had to change it. Trickster, if that got in the game, Trickster would have went up to the A tier. For a bad reason. So, yeah, that's okay. Blood Favor is now based on the survivor's position. I don't really know what that means. We'll see. Oh, okay, wait. Is that a buff? That sounds like a buff. Interesting. Okay.
That you guys can probably get very excited about. So overall, the boon totem range will be decreased, and they will no longer stack. And something really important to note here is that the time to bless these totems has been increased when you are blessing a hex totem, so a totem that already has a hex applied to it. One more thing to note as well is that Hex Blood Favor will, I guess, not be doing as many favors for the Trickster, as it's going to be triggering on damage states and will now be based on the survivor's position rather than the killer's. So those are a couple of the main ones. I don't know if Patrick or Justin, you wanted to make a comment on any of these specific items. Otherwise, stay tuned to the patch notes. But yeah.
Very good.
I'd say that just to give some designer insight into this, boon totems were a little bit stronger than we intended for them to be on the PTB.
Yeah, they broke the game. And I think everybody kind of knew that's what was going to happen. But they broke the game.
Hey, that's part of why we have these PTVs, to see how people play with them. The removal of stacking is going to get rid of some of the really silly, overpowered moments with them. The change to the
Circle of Healing should no longer do what it was doing.
How long it takes to bless a hex totem specifically. The intention here is to have a little bit of a dilemma for the player to think, do I want to cleanse this hex totem because I can do that quickly? But it gets rid of it forever and I can't use my boon, or do I want to spend 24 seconds blessing this totem, which is quite a long time, but you get this benefit out of it. So it's sort of like short time, quick payoff versus a longer time for potentially a bigger payoff on the other side. And yeah, we just reduced the range on them a little bit, but again, I'm the math head around here, and I'll point out that because of how areas of circles work, pay attention, high school math kids, that is actually an effective reduction in area of effect of about 25%. I'm rounding a little bit to keep things easy.
So Patrick is saying that it looks, because of how circles work, the boon totem's losing about 25% of its effectiveness. I'm not a math geek. I can't really tell you that. 4 meters looks kind of underwhelming to me. However, because this man has been right about everything so far, I'm going to trust him. I'm gonna let that play out and see what it does. Circle of Healing still is going to be a very good perk. The fact that it still is going to allow you to heal yourself it means that it's going to help you break out of 3 gens if you put it on the other side of the map. So there's still something you can do with it. Okay, it's still going to be a good perk. Might even be a meta perk. That might be a meta perk. I think it has a very fucking good chance of being a meta perk. But there's now no reason for a whole Swift to bring the perk, which means that that boon totems are going to be total Swift. Swift is going to dominate with those things. But anyway, I'm going to trust this man's judgment that that's all it's going to be used for now, breaking the 3-gen, which is okay because survivors can't. 3-gens are really strong right now. And assuming a nerf is coming, of course, that might be okay. I'm going to let Patrick's judgment play out on that one and see what it actually does. Because this man has been right about everything so far.
But yeah, that's about a 25% reduction of area. So that's what we're going to do with those, and we're going to keep looking at them as time goes forward. More tuning may happen in the future.
We'll see what the future.
All right, so I do see a lot of comments about the Pinhead voice line, so we're just going to address that.
Okay, so now we're getting into bullshit. The rest of this is going to be a lot faster. That is the main need. MMR's fine, fuckers. It's doing great. Okay, let's move on. Let's fire through these real fast.
I don't know. I butchered it. I'm
it
sorry.
surely begins. All right.
This one. Are there any plans for Legion, add-on pass, or otherwise?
Yeah, Legion is actually on our shortlist right now of killers to look at in general. But nothing to announce for when that's coming. We're just looking at them. We're in the early stages of figuring.
Okay, Legion's your next killer. Thank God. The fucker needs something. He's fucking awful. He's one of the worst characters in the game, Ryuga. He ain't B tier, fucker. They need to buff him. He sucks. Moving on. It's good that they're buffing him because he's terrible. Next.
Only get to use hexes once, but survivors can re-bless as much as they want.
This was the very obvious question. Every killer assumed that we were going to get to stomp on the boons and they'd be gone. But that's not the case.
Spicy question with a decent answer, actually. It's something we talked about a lot on the team. So just before this gets like quoted out of context and people rage at me harder than they already are in the chat, remember we've already announced some boon totem nerfs, right? Earlier in the stream. So boons are intended for survivors to just have a small area of the map where they can have a buff that fits into a support mentality, right? They're not supposed to be things that
24 meters is still a little big for a small area of buff. That's still kind of big. That's still it's a terror radius. It's kind of big. 24 meters. I still know, Patrick. I'm taking your word for that, but I'm still... 24 meters still seems a little big.
One of our rules when we've been developing these perks has been sort of set on the team has been, we're not buffing gen repair speed with boon totems, right? That's something that we generally consider to be off the table, unless something changes in the future.
No, that's great.
Idea.
I was worried they were going to do that. I was worried they were going to do that. So good.
Supposed to be something.
Movement speed is what I'm concerned about.
Changes the core game flow in a fundamental way. Hex perks aren't like that. Hex perks absolutely mess with the core flow of a match. They're really, really strong.
That's the first thing he said that's wrong. Ruin is strong. The rest of the hexes suck. Haunting Ground's okay. That one's alright. Ruin, Haunting Ground, Undying are good. Everything else sucks. Everything else is terrible. Some people want me to try the new third seal on twins. Maybe I'll consider doing that, but I don't know. That's still third seal sucks. So I would still like to see hex buffs. I still think they're all bad except for those 4. But was it Ruin, Undying, Haunted Ground, and Thrill of the Hunt might be better with the boons in the game, but we'll see.
Impactful, they apply generally universally. There's no range limit on them. So it's kind of part of the difference between these two is we're trying to reinforce with how the survivors play with totems in a different way with the boons than the killers do with the hexes. The other thing that's worth remembering, though, the one shared note between these two is times that survivors spend mucking about with totems is time that they're not mucking about with generators.
That is true.
Right?
That's what Jay pointed out when I was questioning that when I was watching him stream a little bit. Jay Allo pointed that out. That's actually a good point. If the survivors spending time on the boon totems means that they're not on the gens. That is actually a solid point. And additionally, That is okay. It's alright. However, I'll tell you what that does. It impacts how strong a boon totem is allowed to be. It does. That's what that does. I'm okay with them being able to re-bless the perk. I've moved past that phase of my life. They can have that. However, it caps the strength of the perk. A boon totem is never allowed to be stronger than Hex Ruin, for example. It caps the strength of the perk. As long as they keep the perks at a level of strength to where they're not bullshit, then we're okay. Just make a perk that's not bullshit. It's not that hard.
That doesn't open the gate. So that's one of the main balancing points there. So like to summarize this whole thing up, boon totems are support mechanics that are range limited. Survivors can use them multiple times because of the range limit and the fact they're support mechanics. Hex totems are game-changing in strength, impact the entire flow of the match,
Ruin does.
but they're limited by the risk of survivors.
Ruin does.
That's sort of the design philosophy difference between the two.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that answer. I know it'll be a nice, spicy conversation. As you've released a very large patch this mid-chapter, much of the community is pleased by what you've come up with. Will there be plans to maintain similar large patches that balance out a lot of things at once, like this one?
I do not think my mental health could sustain that level of giant patches, but I understand.
A pumpkin patch?
If it's a pumpkin patch, it can be as big as you want.
Amazing.
Those are great for my mental health. Very spoopy. To actually answer instead of being sassy for a change, this mid-chapter patch was kind of a bit of a perfect storm in terms of patches. It just happened that a whole bunch of changes that we've been working on various timelines, some had even been pushed back, stuff like that. We've shuffled things around, and they all just focused together on this exact patch that we've done. So that's part of why it's so big.
Okay, so that what that does is it devalues McLean's role in the patch. People were being like, "Oh, this is McLean's goodbye gift." No, it's not. It's fine. It's not McLean's goodbye gift to us. It's not. It's just simply what it is it's simply just a combination of things that were pushed back. Yeah, so technical difficulties. What that does is it devalues McLean's role in the patch. That's what the damn thing does. Okay? It devalues it because McLean didn't do this. It was a group effort. Okay? It wasn't just McLean giving us a shiny new toy. It was everybody. To attribute the whole thing to one... I think McLean did a lot of things himself. I think he worked on the killers a lot himself. But this patch... The changes that they made were a little too easy to just be McLean, bro. Removing a penalty on Myers is just a little too easy to be McLean. So that's what I'm saying there. It wasn't just McLean.
That said, part of the live design philosophy that we're trying to push for on Dead by Daylight is to get away from the mentality we've had with mid-chapter patches and live balance patches in the past, where we've sort of laser focused on one or two killers and really done a lot of adjustment there and maybe changed 2 or 3 perks and then that's all it is. We're trying to take that same amount of effort and spread it out and spread the love. So I want to get to the point that we have a lot more killers getting touched, but not to the degree of overhauls.
Let me explain why that's okay, because I'm sorry to tell you guys this, not every killer needs an overhaul. They need a core that's better. Once the core is better, a lot of these killers will be able to work themselves out. Who needs a fucking core fix? Trapper, Legion, Pig. I don't know. Actually, I don't even know about Pig. Pig's looking fucking great with these new add-ons. So killers that we thought needed core updates don't even look like they need core updates anymore. So it's fine. It's fine that they're doing that. By spreading the wealth out more, they will be able to impact more things on a mid-chapter patch. Is every patch going to be as big as this? No. But it will feel a lot bigger than they used to because they'll be hitting more things at once. And I think that's a very, very good way of doing it.
We changed a couple add-ons here. We changed a couple add-ons there. A couple numbers here and there. So we still want to get more changes out, generally speaking. So think, the amount of changes we have for 1 or 2 characters spread across more like 4 or 5. And I think you get the idea. That said, character overhauls aren't out of the question. It's not like I'm saying we're never going to do that again. We just need to be able to justify them, and we have to have a good enough reason to go in.
They need to speed up. They know they need to speed up because they need to hit the core. And they need to prepare the killers for when the core is finally hit. And a mass degree of changes will help that.
Something like that.
Right. All right. From Pixelbush YT, how do you choose which character?
Stupid. Moving on.
Social media page and on the forums. So these were questions selected from you guys by you guys. All right. From Angelicus23, are there any plans to reduce the grind? I know that's a very hot topic as well.
Yeah, I know. I know that the grind is bad. The design team knows. We talk about it quite a bit. We have some plans to address this. Prestigious system. Something in my throat. I don't know.
Okay, so it sounds like they're going to do something with the prestige system to reduce the grind. Okay? However, the grind is not just bad because of the prestige system. Okay? The grind is not just bad because of the prestige system. If ideally they make prestiging not take your fucking shit away, that's what it should do. Not take your fucking shit away. Don't take the perks away. However, what they're probably going to do is when you prestige, every perk you have is knocked back down a tier. Like when you prestige to prestige 2, all your perks you get have knocked back down to tier 2. Like, that's probably what they're going to do. Something like that. Or even tier 1, for God's sakes. So, like, something like that. However, but the problem, ladies and gentlemen, is that you still got to get the fucking perks. Even if you tell me that prestiging is not worth it, because I'd rather just have what I fucking have. And not have to prestige at all. So, how about you, like, make the grind less bad on the new characters that come out, so I can get Ruin in the first hour of playing. How about that? That's what is going to help the grind. There's a lot of other things that can help the grind. Get rid of perk tiers altogether. It's what you should be doing. We've talked about this numerous times. If you want a video on how to fix the grind, I will make a video on how to fix the grind. Okay, I'm not covering that here.
Yeah, weird. Yeah, some blood points.
From Tataru, I'm having a hard time here.
It's Tataru.
Can we get any hints?
Tataru before. Come on.
Can we get any hints about which killers you're looking into next? I believe this is specifically in terms of live balance.
Yeah,
that's right. Balance.
For live balance, we've actually internally on the design team been taking a little bit of a break from our usual focus on killers, crazy talk, to look at some survivor improvements. So you can expect to probably see those coming down the pipe.
Why is that important? Now, your first instinct is to shit on that completely because the core needs fixed, survivors need fucking nerfs. First of all, improvements doesn't necessarily mean buffs, but that's kind of a weaker point because he does say this.
Soon TM. I assume TM is our default timeline. But yeah, so we've been looking at some survivor stuff, so survivors are going to get some love in the near future. But in terms of killers...
So yeah, he says that survivors are going to get some love, so that implies buffs. However, let me tell you something. That makes sense. Okay? Then I'll tell you why it makes sense. Okay? Because if you assume that the core of the game, aka that does not mean core mechanics, we'll get into that in a minute. When you assume that a massive survivor nerf is incoming, that makes sense. You don't want to overbuff any killers before the survivor nerf comes in, because then you'll just have to re-nerf them. Does that make sense? So slowing down on killers when they're about to nerf survivor makes sense. And then when the survivors are hit hard and their meta has to adapt extremely quickly, they're going to need new options. And so rather than panicking and designing those options on the fly after the survivor's meta is hit, they're designing them beforehand. So when they nerf Dead Hard and they nerf the maps, they have more shit to work with on top of that. The role is a bit stronger than it would be. They're giving the survivors a life jacket before they say jump. That's what's going on here. I am okay with them buffing Survivor. Because, for right now at least, because I know, I can't really say that, can I? I still think there is a bomb coming. And when the bomb comes, ladies and gentlemen, the Survivors' ship will explode, but they'll have a fucking life jacket. So that's fine. Is it going to be fine in 6 months? No. In 6 months, it's not going to be fine. But this is still okay for right now. That's the only thing I'll say.
Killer stuff. We've got a short list of a few different killers we want to look at, but I think the next two big ones that we've been talking about the most are Legion, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, and also Ghostface.
Yes.
I've been seeing a lot of
Ghostface needs significant improvements. So yeah, he needs some shit.
Talking about Ghostface, and it's starting to feel like it's his time to get a little bit of love.
Yeah, he needs a lot of it. Hope you got some.
Alrighty. The requirements.
You can't replace your own joke with a joke.
From player field, are
You're
there
funny,
any plans
Justin.
to buff the shape?
We don't have anything immediate.
Michael Myers! You want buffs for Michael Myers, man? You're not getting buffs for Michael Myers, man! Michael Myers ain't getting shit, man! Michael Myers! Michael Myers! You want buffs for Michael Myers? This gets asked every fucking update. You want buffs for Michael Myers? We're not buffing Michael Myers, man! We're not buffing Michael Myers, man! Here, let's go buff survivor perks, man! We're not buffing shitty fucking Michael Myers, man! We leave him shit! Who the fuck is Michael Myers? He got a new movie coming out next week, man! You know that? Halloween Kills! Except in Dead by Daylight, where it's Halloween, it gets teabagged on and escapes, because Haddonfield's the worst fucking map in the game. Trash.
In the pipe about I know you're not the only one who can pull it off. Yeah, but we don't have anything planned for the shape right now.
We're not buffing Michael Myers, man!
Not thinking about him or not looking at him.
Michael Myers! Yeah, we ain't buffing him!
On the list. Like I said, we had Legion and Ghostface are sort of the next two that I really want to focus on. Will the shape be after that? I don't know.
We're not buffing Michael Myers, man.
Alright.
We're not buffing Michael Myers.
Not lonely. Any plans for buffing more perks? The latest perk changes were great, and I want more.
Oh yeah, there's always plans to buff more perks. Probably gonna nerf a few too.
Dead hard.
That's just how it is.
The exhaustion nerfs are coming, dude.
And so another question from the World Wide Web.
The exhaustion nerfs are coming.
IV. I'm not really sure if it's a 4 or an IV. I'm sorry. Mori's were teased to be part of the base gameplay loop in the 5th.
Now, let's talk about Death by Giggles again. Another reason I'm starting to really like her. She lets more information slip out than she might be allowed to. Did you catch that? Mori's were teased to be a part of the base gameplay. No, they weren't. They just said a change was coming. I was the one who was like, is that mechanic going to be base? It kind of sounded like it kind of implied that it was going to be base, but like there was no like confirmation because like the mechanic could still be tied to the offerings and they didn't. But Death by Giggles let it slip out that yes, that was teased to be a base mechanic. Moris are coming to Killers base. Confirmed, pretty much, unless they go back on it. That's why I like her, dude. She subconsciously communicates things to us.
Your stream. Chris, you can share.
What do you think?
The progress I can share is that we are still working on it. It's not a small thing. It's a big thing. We're very excited about it until I have something more concrete.
And now that the Killers are going to have access to the Moris every fucking match, that's a buff. That's a buff, ladies and gentlemen. That's one of the many big killer buffs coming down the line with MMR. So, fantastic.
I'm not going to tease you any further.
Yeah.
Every killer is going to have access to the Moris every fucking game. Great.
20 hours in the day. But we are thinking about which ones to do next all the time.
Yeah. All right. From Dr. Knockers 05. Why didn't Deathslinger get us perks and other underwhelming / unexciting add-ons improved?
Underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what I was just saying. As I mentioned earlier, when talking about the mid-chapter patch,
Shitslinger got gutted this chapter.
Where you give lots of
changes
killers
looking pretty bad.
Love more regularly, rather than deep diving on just one or two killers. So the Deathslinger saw a couple changes that we knew we wanted to do, that we were focused on delivering those little bits and pieces. The nice thing is this means we aren't ruling the Deathslinger out from seeing more changes sooner than we would traditionally readjust the killer. So I'm not telling you we're going to adjust more things on Deathslinger next patch, but I'm saying it's not like Deathslinger is going to have to wait 5 years until we touch him again.
So, more changes for Shitslinger incoming. Hopefully, he gets an add-on pass, because now he's going to fucking need it with how bad the base is looking right now. So, hopefully, they give him some nice add-ons that'll help him out in the future. But right now, it ain't looking too good for him.
Amazing. From Altar, can we see a modern kill/pick rate
Modern
chart
stats.
for killers?
Okay, let's take a look at this.
This
data doesn't mean shit, because it's not MMR. Whatever that is, it's not red. It's not even red rank. That's not even red rank shit. So that right there is some of the most meaningless data I have ever seen in my life. And then of course they go into the nurse because no nurses at the bottom. So let's go ahead and move on from that.
For these discussions, but you know. All right. From the Nightmare. Some time ago, there was talk of a new mechanic at the beginning of the game. Could you please share something about this?
Hang on, I'm still writing it down. Okay.
We're not doing that, fuckers.
MYERS, Pat.
Oh, Meyer. Okay.
This answer was already out there. They already confirmed this. They're not doing this. Okay, they're not doing it.
That was about the beginning games thing. Yes. Okay. Sorry, just remembering the question that I'm actually answering. The short answer is no. We're not actually going to be doing that. The long answer, to explain that a little bit, is yes. A while ago, there was some talk about adding an additional mechanic or scenario for the beginning of the game, but after a lot of discussion with the design team, even a couple little prototypes and ideas being bounced around, we couldn't find something to add there that we felt made the game better. It almost always made the game worse.
Basically, the slowdown at the beginning of the game was too much for the survivors every fucking time. That's what that meant. They were going to slow the game down, and they probably overdid it, and then the early game became killer favored, and they couldn't ever stop it. That's pretty much probably what happened there.
So we're not trying to make the game worse for y'all, so we didn't want to do that. That said, some of those ideas got rolled into other prototypes we're working on, other ideas. Some of them just got cut. Right, we were talking about earlier about the Mori system, right? Some of the ideas from that started as early game scenario sort of ideas have been integrated into the Mori system.
I think that's interesting. Maybe the early game mechanics ideas got integrated into the Mori system. I'm now more curious about this Mori system than ever before. Maybe the survivors have to do other objectives to prevent the killer from getting their Moris. That would help. If the killer defends their objective, like maybe they have to, like, I don't know, offer something to the entity. They gotta grab a stone or something and haul it somewhere across the map. And if the killer picks up the stone, if the killer picks up the stone, he keeps it. And if he gets 3 of them, then he gets to Mori somebody or something stupid like that. Interesting. The Mori mechanic is now something to keep an eye on because they said ideas from the early game shit got worked in there. So we'll see what they do with
concept.
that.
But yeah, not everything that we talk about makes the cut.
So yeah, that's it.
All right, from Liberita, will you shorten the gap between groups with voice comm and solo queue?
That's a good question.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something we talk about.
It's only been asked 5 times. One thing I want to stop seeing, the worst thing about this, is the amount of questions in this fucking Q&A that are on other Q&As that got the same answer. I've highlighted a few of them because it's a legit criticism. Are there any plans for Legion? Okay, that one was relevant because Legion's getting some tweaks now. But then they were like, oh, well, can we share more on other killers? We didn't need the Legion question if you were going to go in and say it there. You know what I mean? And then, of course, Michael Myers? You buff Michael Myers, man? I encourage the community to stop wasting these forums and Q&As asking stupid shit. Please.
We're always and
the hour is
actively
losing
looking
productivity.
At how to bridge that information gap for groups and solo survivors. Like the challenge here is we're essentially talking about ways to make solo queued survivors feel more capable of interaction and communication with other solo survivors, but also about how to make them feel part of a team when that solo survivor...
They should do the thing from Identity Vive with the communication bubbles. That's what they should do. However, they do want to solve a problem that will never be solved.
Paired up with, say, like a 3-stack Survive with Friends, right? It's really easy for Survive with Friends groups to just leave that solo player on a hook to die and not feel bad about it.
The easiest way to fix that is a kill and escape pure MMR system, because that would mean that the solo queue player that got left to die is getting the most MMR. In my mind, or it would at least be going up. Because in that situation, the solo queue player only has to feel bad because his MMR is going down when the other three assholes are going up. So if you just made it a flat fucking kill and escape MMR, come on, Patrick. If you just did that, then there wouldn't be anything to bitch about there, bro. So that's the way you solve the problem, with a pure flat kill and escape MMR.
It's a stranger. I don't care about what happens to him. But nobody wants to be the solo in that position. So yeah, we're looking at ways and discussing ways right now actively for how we can bridge that gap a little bit and get those solo players feeling more like they're part of the team and less singled out by three men. Yeah, let's not alone. Where's not lonely? Not lonely. Yeah, we want our survivors to feel more not lonely.
Yeah, exactly. All right, from Ratherick. Why were there no twins, Legion, or Executioner add-on for
I was worried about this because my boy's twins got mentioned.
Yeah, to be clear, the mid-chapter update that's coming out soon, TM, very soon, that one is very soon TM
Very
timeline, very soon TM. But yeah, that mid-chapter patch is touching, I think, about just shy of half of the killers in the game.
Yeah.
That's a lot of changes that are going in. And that's only if you ignore the fact that we rewrote all of the killer add-on text to include specific numerical values, right? Which was not an insubstantial amount of work. So yeah, the thing is that we have a huge number of killers in this game, and we keep adding more. It's beyond any sort of reasonable scope for us to change every killer that everyone plays in every mid-chapter patch.
Good. Twins don't want changes. Trust me.
I'm ready.
There's reasons. But yeah, maybe we can have another Q&A with some more details.
Oh my gosh, y'all are getting really exhausting.
From Crimson Moth King, when players suggest buffs/nerfs, do you take any of what has been suggested into consideration?
Yeah. Like, you saw me taking some notes already in today's meeting, or today's call. Yeah, we absolutely do. It's great to hear what you folks have to say about the state of the game, about perks, stuff like that. We don't always, and we can't always, act on everything that comes in from you. Again,
yeah, because over half of it is wrong. Just pure and simple. Over half of it is wrong. It's not subjective, asshole. There's definitely wrong things to do. So, ignoring the wrong suggestions is the right thing to do.
Your priorities, there's only so many people on the team, but it's very common for player perceptions to help guide our thought process when we're working on designs. That said, you stand a much better chance of your feedback to being seriously considered if you are civil about it. I'll have you all know that my mother is a very classy lady, and any design suggestions which call that into question will be immediately discarded.
Nice job, Patrick.
I guess one thing to mention is, yeah.
Problem is, ladies and gentlemen, that you may say, "Oh, Rosie, what do you come on and scream at these people for?" Yeah, MMR's in the game, isn't it? All of Scott Junn's really respectful videos about MMR, they're ignoring those. Rightfully so. They're rightfully ignoring all of that shit. And they say in this exact video that they want the competitive scene, comp scene. I say the competitive player. I consider myself a competitive player. So basically everything I've ever wanted is pretty much happening right now, and it's kind of eerie. But like, I think my methods are working just fine.
We do look at all your feedback, even the critical stuff. So, we're happy to look at it. We might not always be able to reply. There are so many.
And also, I've been the one sticking up for these motherfuckers the most right now. What a role reversal.
Feedback and comments there that, even with a team as large as ours, it is not always possible to reply to every single person. But rest assured, we do comb through, the forums, all of our official channels, even unofficial channels like
Death
Facebook
by Giggles
groups,
reminds me of Strange Eons.
Reddit and Discord, like just everywhere. So, we're looking quite substantially at where you guys are leaving feedback. All right.
Okay, 3 more. Let's power through this.
So from Iron Carbide, are there any plans to show us what our skill-based matchmaking ratings are?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. I see that one a lot. Honestly, we have no plans right now to show or expose your MMR or the exact rating what you have. The main concern about that is toxicity and elitism. I've personally played other games where they have various numerical representations of skill, and it can get pretty gnarly between players. Oh, I don't want to hear what you have to say. Your number is lower than my number. So yeah.
I still think that's not a valid reason. If someone doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about and their MMR is low as fuck, I don't want to hear what they have to say. That's not toxicity, it's intelligence. It's intelligence. And if somebody with 700 MMR is suggesting something and their feedback is being taken into consideration at the same amount of someone whose MMR is 4,000, that's ridiculous. And I think as long as they're doing that behind the scenes, I don't care. The fact that the MMR on the survivors is flawed right now is enough of a reason to not expose it, because we know how it works fully now, and it's kind of not the most accurate. Due to the fact that it's not the most accurate, that's the reason that they should have said. Because we know that our system is flawed, we are not showing your MMR because it's not the most accurate as it could be. And so that is the main reason to not show it. Okay, toxicity is a bad reason. That's shit.
We think it would generate a bit of a schism between the more competitively minded players and the less competitively minded.
Okay, that schism is already there. Okay, that schism is already there. You're trying to avoid something that already exists. So
that said, we are also in the early stages of looking at ways to cater to both of these groups, the competitive who want to see the number, the non-competitive who don't, without making it a nightmare for either. But I think y'all know what I'm going to say. Soon TM.
Yeah, it's needless to say, a lot of these things are basically on the radar.
Okay, so they want to appeal to the competitive players and the casuals without making it a nightmare for either. Hey, you know who it's a nightmare for right now, ladies and gentlemen? Or the past 2 years? You know who the game's been a nightmare for? The competitive players. The competitively mindseted players who want a competitive scene. Players like me. That's who it's been a nightmare for. The casuals have had a fucking field day with this fucking shit. For them to even acknowledge the competitively minded players means we're making fucking progress. Progress is happening right before your eyes. They've acknowledged the desire for the competitive scene to exist. And if they can cater to the competitive players a little bit, we can actually form something real. And MMR is the beginning stages of this. MMR is the beginning stages of it. Brilliant. And they have more information coming on that. We are winning, Scott Jund. Try to stop us, motherfucker. Release 8 more discussion videos. Hey guys, Scott here. I just want to release why we shouldn't actually make a competitive Dead by Daylight scene. Why should we not cater to the competitive players? Because I just think it would be really bad for the casuals in the low ranks, bro. Keep making them, fucker. They're not working. How does it feel to be powerless, bro? How does it feel knowing that your feedback is being dumped on? Finally, they stopped listening to you. Brilliant. Oh, mwah. The game is going to get better if they keep this up. Oh, drop that bomb, please. I don't think I can wait anymore. You're teasing my dick way too much with this fucking shit, guys. You're teasing my dick way too much. When the nerf comes that we need, I will tell you. When you can play this game again, I will tell you. We're getting closer, dude.
Early in the plans. Or maybe they're later on in the plans, but there's still things that need to be finalized, basically.
Yeah,
so
a lot of stuff we want to do, only so much time to do it.
Exactly.
2 more.
Don't necessarily expect it to run at launch. We shall see. All right, from Yukniki, maybe? Plans to make being face camped less punishing. Do we have anything in the works for that?
We do. I was actually getting very excited about it in a meeting earlier today with some of the team. Yeah, face camping has been a thorn in design side for some time. So to be very clear about this, the design team, we don't like that it's currently such an appealing option for killers to face camp survivors. In theory, it can be countered by leaving the camped player on the hook and just going and doing gens instead, and then everybody else can leave the game, and it's bad for the killer in that regard. In practice, in actual execution, it takes a lot of time
Against solos, not against Swifts.
for players to realize that face camping is happening before they go and find generators and start fixing them.
Mm-hmm.
And that basically makes the counter so much less effective. So while fixing this problem, one of the things we're trying to avoid is we also don't want to remove what I'll call proxy camping. So proxy camping, when I'm talking about it here, that's when a killer hangs out near-ish to the survivor on a hook, maybe trying to use them as bait, trying to lure out other people. This is a legitimate strategy with...
Proxy camping is a legitimate strategy. Y'all can absolutely go fuck yourselves. Camping is a legitimate strategy confirmed by Patrick. Shut the fuck up. It's not being punished by MMR because it's legit. Proxy camping is a legit strategy. Patrick, you're a saint! Someone promote this man! Has he had a promotion yet? If he hasn't had a promotion, I will give him a promotion. I will write that company a letter. Promote this man. He is a god. This is the best guy they have by far. This guy has said more good things about the game than McLean ever has in this fucking video. The guy is great. The guy is great. There's no other thing. Like, he said some shit in this thing too, but this guy is great. He is explaining to the survivors the difference between face and proxy camping. Proxy camping is a legitimate strategy, and not only is it a legitimate strategy, it takes fucking skill. Proxy camping is great. Proxy camping, dare I say, is fucking meta. Proxy camping is absolutely wonderful, and God bless Tinkerer for allowing you to do it in such an effective manner.
Risks, counters, like there are perks that can deal with that sort of thing. So getting something that helps with specifically face camping but doesn't negatively impact proxy camping, mouthful, that's tricky. That's really hard. We've tried many times before to do this. Tried a whole bunch of times. And almost every time we've tried it in the past, there's been some sort of deal-breaking issue with it.
Yep.
Sometimes we've figured out in our attempts, we figured this out
because they know how good proxy camping is and how necessary
we figured
it is.
this out after making a prototype to playtest. One of those playtests even made it onto a PTB a while ago for those who have been around long enough. And you'll note it's not in the game yet because it didn't quite make the cut. The tease here, of course, is that we recently had yet another idea on this topic, and we're going through the paces, designing it out, vetting.
So they have an idea. They have another idea, and they're going to test it. Proxy camping is great, and I respect the fuck out of this man for making sure any anti-face camp mechanic is not going to punish the thing that takes skill and that is wonderful. So, good on them. Very intelligent. Last one, and then we're done.
Who's clearly very normal. I love it. Very normal, very casual. Will any core game mechanics be changed someday?
This is a fitting one to end on.
Stipulations here. When we're talking about the phrase core game mechanics, I consider core game mechanics to be things that are universal to all games played. So having a killer that messes about with a mechanic, like say how Pyramid Head messes around with Mori's, right?
Plague messes around with healing. So, yeah.
But that only impacts the games that Pyramid Head is in, right? That doesn't impact all the games that are played for Dead by Daylight. So you can argue that perks are kind of the same when it comes to core mechanics. Boon totems, for example, they're super neat, but if nobody takes a boon totem into the match, do boon totems even exist? Not for the purposes of that match, right? So in terms of core game mechanics, things that go for every game, there's not really a lot to talk about right now. We've got the Mori changes that we've sort of hinted at and discussed a little bit earlier, and we've also discussed in the past that keys would be integrated and playing with that Mori system in a new and interesting way. I think those are two. I mean,
unlocking the
keys,
box
I say
that the
keys,
stone is in.
Same argument about how maybe nobody brought a key to that match, right? So the Moris are probably the big one that we talked about in the anniversary stream that I would consider to be a core mechanic.
Okay, so generators, all that shit. However, I do not consider a nerf to Dead Hard. Okay, the Dead Hard nerf, the exhaustion nerf I think is coming. One of the things I think is coming is not a core mechanic. So that is not there by definition. Also, I don't think tiles are a core mechanic. The core mechanics are the rules of Dead by Daylight. When I say we have to change the core, I'm talking about the general tiles across each map, the exhaustion, all that fucking shit. That's the bomb I think is coming right there. The core elements of Dead by Daylight are that right there, the chase. But by Patrick's own definition, what he considers to be a core mechanic isn't going to change anytime soon. However, while I may disagree with him on what a core mechanic kind of is, what he said does not eliminate the possibility that a Survivor nerf is coming, and a big one. That does not eliminate that possibility. It just doesn't. So, ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't deconfirm a bomb. If anyone's going to tell me that deconfirms a bomb, that does not deconfirm shit. Go fuck yourselves. Conclusion. Decent Q&A. Overall, there's some problems. They still spent way too much time on bullshit. And some answers were bad. But overall, the MMR section, which is the thing I cared about the most, was knocked out of the fucking park grand slam. They basically said, fuck you, we're doing it. And I love that. And they explained why, which is the reason that I've been saying forever. The stats will be better. The balancing will be better. Everything I've said is correct. And everything Scott Junn has said is wrong as fuck. As always, what else is new, people? We can improve the MMR system later. Let's fix the core first. Patrick, you're a great god. You're great. Ask for a promotion. You deserve it. I'm getting the hell out of here, lads. GG's. Thanks for watching. This is way bigger than I thought it was going to be.